Witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie. Zapraszam na wywiad z muzykiem. Jeżeli nie wiecie, gdzie mówię, tutaj w tym małym rogu. Zapraszam na wywiad z muzykiem, z wokalistą Davidem Smithem z kanału Antigravity Pop. Znacie go jako autora piosenki Like a Flood do mojej kampanii Nastek. Wywiad będzie przeprowadzony w języku angielskim. David, welcome to my channel.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. I made a little introduction of you, but I think you're the man to make your own introduction. So please tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you?
Sure. Like Mikhail said, I'm David Smith. I'm a 56-year-old artist and producer based here in the United States and Indiana specifically, if anybody cares. But I've been a freelance record producer and a producer for independent artists since, I don't know, the mid-1980s. I started out when I was a teen. And like I said, I mostly produce for independent artists or people that don't have record labels, or even amateurs, that want to level up their song productions and things like that. And over the past 3 or 4 years, I've been kind of focused on my own recording project called Antigravity, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I released a project earlier this year called Mission 1, and it's basically an 80s synth pop revival style, and which was, of course, is the kind of music that was popular and prominent when I was a teen, and so that's embedded in my mind. And a lot of the lyrics of my songs, they talk about being a person kind of grappling with the different aspects and challenges of living in our kind of hyper-technological modern digital age, and whether that's dealing with artificial intelligence or loneliness and interpersonal relationships, or the passing of time as you get older, and or even things like the New World Order and government elites trying to control everybody, lightweight stuff. And but I like to couch it all in like metaphorical language that's related to science fiction and space travel and sci-fi, that type of thing. And I do it all, like I said, in my very retro 80s kind of musical genre.
Yeah, because you've been a producer for like almost 40 years now.
Yeah.
Right? But you also play. You play some. What do you play? What kind of instruments?
Well, I basically picked up a little bit of everything. My mom always used to call me jack of all trades, master of none. But I play. My main instrument is guitar, but I also dabble in keyboards. I'm very good on drums. I also have some background in cello and trumpet. I play bass. So kind of a little bit of everything. It lets me put together the backing instrumentation and everything for artists.
Yeah, and you sing as well.
Yeah, right. I do sing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a singer.
That's a given.
I've been following your channel for some time, and I know your story. As I remember, you couldn't manage to publish your first album right in the 80s. And you were your album was like this year, last year, right?
Right.
And many other things got in the way, right? What happened?
Yeah. Well, in the 80s, this was before the digital age and before home computers and everything, obviously, for the most part. So anytime I wanted to record something or get something recorded, I had to find a local studio, or I had to use the studio at the college where I went, and it was always busy. It was really tough getting in there, but I kept at it. And then as soon as I got the home computer in the mid 90s and the early 2000s, it was just like it was a dream come true, and I could really start doing things myself and pouring a lot of time into producing records. But all along that time, I got married and we were having kids and,
yeah,
and trying to raise a family.
Tell us, David, how many kids you have?
We have 8.
Eight. As I told you sometimes, you are my hero, like a family hero. 8 kids. I have one, and I have many issues with my 6-year-old. But you have 8 kids.
Yeah. One is a lot. But
listen, you told me that you like sang in the 80s synthwave music style, right? It was in the 80s, but you still record in the same genre, right? But tell me,
yeah, I try to.
You tried, okay. How has it changed from the 80s and now? I don't think something has had to change, right, in the style of music.
A lot of it has. When I listen to a lot of the 80s revival and retro synthwave 80s that I hear today, I noticed that it's missing a few things. A lot of the artists are missing a few things, and the number one thing I hear missing is songcraft. And like they'll get a little 4-bar chord progression going, and then it'll just go on, and they'll layer different types of things on top of it and take away things. But the songwriting to me is what's really lacking, I guess. And but at the same time, I've noticed that a lot of synthwave artists today, they've kind of distilled what was really excellent about the production in the 80s music, and they put it in their own productions, and that's really attractive to me. That's what fascinates me. And also in the 80s, there were a lot more use of guitars, and the use of, it wasn't all, drum samples. They used real drums all the time. And so I just noticed those little production differences personally, so my goal is to try to incorporate kind of the songcraft and the more thoughtful lyrics in an 80s production, modern synthwave style. So that's kind of my thing.
I listen to a lot of synthwave, and I think the modern artists create this music now. Nowadays music isn't based on the 80s music, but it's based on our imagination and memory how the 80s looked like. It has all the best stuff about the 80s, all the colors, all the sounds. It doesn't have the the bad background of the 80s, right? Don't you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I see what you're saying. I mean, some of it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. There are great synthwave artists out there today that I look up to, but I think some of it comes off as a little caricature.
Yes.
What people think the 80s are,
Yeah.
So I relate to what you're saying.
Okay, tell me what's your favorite 80s song?
Maybe Kyrie by Mr. Mister. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears.
Yeah,
it's in my top 5.
Yeah, mine as well. Okay, thank you for sharing that. And that's why that's a funny story about me finding your channel, because I was just swiping through the shorts on YouTube, and suddenly, bang, your song comes up. I don't remember the song. I think it was Hearts of Kyber. From the Andor, or about Andor, and Rogue One, and I was like, wow, this is great. I had to check more of it. So I click on your channel. Like I've seen more, and I started following. There were a couple of more new songs like Artificial Intelligence, and a couple of more. And I think I started following a month after you released your album, or like a week after. So I'm kind of fresh, and that's when I came out with my campaign, my role-playing campaign, and I asked you to record the song. Can you tell us what's the song Like a Flood is all about?
Well, you came to me with the request. to produce the song and the series. And honestly, I was not at all familiar with the series, and especially the artwork. And my kids were.
Oh, all right.
And I was like, so I mentioned to them. I said, "Hey, you know, I've this guy came to me with a request to do a theme song for his series on this," and they were like, "Oh yeah, Dad, you should do that." And so I could see when I looked into it, I could see how well aligned that the time period for the game, and also my own retro synthwave synth pop style was. So I was very excited to have a chance to work on creating the theme song with you. You sent me links on that I could research, and I did my own research on that, and I found it extremely interesting, just to get a sense what it was all about. And so honestly, I think the song is about, I kind of relate it to my own personal experience today of life right now, and I think it's the experience of a lot of people who at this time are having, I think they're really drawn to nostalgia and into the 80s and 90s memories because of what we're facing in real life right now, and kind of how the world is. And I think people are wishing for a simpler time, and which I remember that being the case in the 80s.
Yeah. It
was a simpler, happier time. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that's pretty freaked out. And so, but at the same time, I didn't want the song to be, and when I gave you the first draft, you thought maybe it's too
dark,
depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too dark.
Especially the second verse. The second verse, we changed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought, you know, you're right. You're absolutely right. This is big. And I was also looking at the artwork for Things from the Flood, and I thought, wow, this stuff is really dark. But so you and I worked on it a little bit, and I revamped the lyrics. And so I wanted it to be more about the fact that challenges and changes are actually opportunities to look at the world differently, and to be excited about it, about the potential. You know, what you can do in the midst of these challenges and changes. So I think that's the message and the point I really wanted to get across.
I really like that you put a lot of hope for the listeners in that song, right? To see the beauty in the strange, right? Those words especially. Okay, that was my next question. Have you put anything from your own 90s, 80s, 1890s past into the song? I'm sure you remember how it was to be a teenager, right? To remember everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I poured everything with every song that I work on, especially in this specific style. I pour everything from my past and my experience with 80s music into it. So I think that the main thing, like I mentioned before, is the songwriting. I really focused on the lyrics first, and I wanted the lyrics to be deep and to make sense and to be relevant for what you wanted. And so that, number one, and also just traditional pop song structure. You know, you've got verse, chorus, a bridge, and then your final choruses. So that's kind of how I structured the song. And let's see what. In terms of the synth sounds, I added more guitar into it, which would be more common in an actual 80s song. And you also mentioned you wanted a vibe that was similar to The Power of Love.
Yes.
From Back to the Future. Okay, I'll choose that tempo, and I'll have the same kind of basic rhythmic groove for the song. So we incorporated that.
Right.
And so yeah, I think it turned out well.
You
it
seem
did. To be happy with it?
I am. I can say we all are. My viewers really like the music, and it's a hit.
Wonderful.
It's a hit. That's why I'm recording this interview, so they can know you and check out your channel, your music.
Fantastic.
So are you satisfied with the result of the song?
Absolutely. I'm especially since you put it with the video graphics and everything.
Oh, the
you're
intro.
Editing on that. Yeah. I showed it to my kids and they were super impressed with it. And like, hey, Dad, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. When I came to you, was it? I don't think it's very common for some role-playing game master to come to you and to ask for a theme song for their intro for the campaign, right?
True.
That's not very common. How familiar were you with role-playing games when I came to you, or maybe in the past?
That's a really interesting question. I was talking about that with my wife, and I said, you know what? Honestly, my experience with role-playing games is almost nil, because I think it's because I grew up in a time where music got me hooked before gaming, and even board games or whatever, Xbox or whatever, or computer games. And I think I found gaming not to be as interesting to me as music, and just delving into music. And so that's my background, and so, but I'm becoming more interested in it since talking with you and
great
and finding out about this.
David, I think I know the answer to my own question. When you were a teenager, you were into music. You were very handsome, and you had lots of chicks. You didn't have to play role-playing games in somebody else's basement. So that's why you didn't go into RPGs.
I was too much of a nerd.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I really loved your Highway to the Danger Zone. Your montage, your editing with X-Wings.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a very good one, and a really great cover. Really great cover.
I appreciate that.
Highway to the danger zone. Right into the danger zone. Head to twilight.
Was it difficult to understand why I need this theme song from you?
No. I've actually written other theme songs for organizations and events, and even schools.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm familiar with writing theme songs, and so it wasn't a big stretch for me. But this has been the most interesting one I've done. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's been the most fun.
This is my last question, because I know that every song is special for you, right? In some way. Yeah. How is Like a Flood different from all the others, and how is it special for you?
I related it to my own experience and the experience of a lot of people today. And with all the stuff that's going on and kind of the darkness going on in the world, there's a need to find and hope in all of it. And I think the song really does that. So for that reason, it's special to me. And I felt super good about being able to get a message out like that in the song.
Awesome. David, thank you for this talk, for this little interview.
My pleasure.
I hope I can come back with another idea for a theme song. Maybe we'll be having a science fiction campaign in role-playing games. Okay?
That would be awesome. I'm here for it.
Okay, thank you. To był wywiad z Davidem Smithem, autorem Antigravity Pop, kanałem. Zobaczcie, jakie są Davida utwory. Naprawdę są warte waszej uwagi i to tyle. Dziękuję wam bardzo za oglądanie. Thank you, David.
You bet. Thanks.